In this lesson, we're going to look at angles and triangles. And our key terminology, the first one, two angles are supplementary if the sum of their angle measures is 180 degrees. Two angles are complementary if the sum of their angles is 90 degrees. A ray has exactly one endpoint, and that would just go on and on in one direction, but have a definite endpoint or a beginning point. A straight angle measure is 180 degrees. A right angle measure is 90 degrees. An acute angle measures more than 0 but less than 90. And an obtuse angle measures more than 90 but less than 180. An angle is made up of two rays. So they have an endpoint, which in this picture is B, and then they have they share the endpoint, and then there's two rays. So we have ray CB and BC and ray BA. Now, together, when they share the endpoint, they create an angle. And there's a lot of different ways to name the angle. We can name it simply, we can call it angle ABC. We could call it angle CBA. We could call it, we could use a symbol in math. We have an angle symbol, which looks like this. Now, don't confuse that with a less than symbol. This is flat on the bottom, so it's not a sideways V. It's actually flat on the bottom, and we would say angle ABC, or we could say angle CBA, or we could simply say angle B. So there's lots of different ways to name it. Now notice in all of them, B is in the middle. Or on this one, it's just by itself, because that's the end point that they're sharing. So that's where the angle occurs, is right here, between the two rays. So it would be incorrect to put BAC, because there is no angle at A. There's only an angle at B. Now this particular angle looks like it's less than 90 degrees, so this would even be considered an acute angle because it's less than 90 degrees. And I think that's all we can do on that picture. So let's look at the next slide. We have 4 different angles. And if I had a protractor, I could measure these out, but I don't, so I'm just going to classify them. And I want to just kind of revisit some of the vocabulary terminology. When we classify angles, we have acute angles, we have obtuse angles, and we have straight angles, and we have right angles. So let's look at those three scenarios. Now, a right angle measures exactly 90 degrees, and that's probably the one that people are most familiar with, and that would be this one right here. This is a right angle. Now when we look at the top one, if I were to sketch in a right angle, you can see that this angle opens up further than that. So this is an obtuse angle because it's greater than 90 degrees. Similar, this angle here is definitely less than 90 degrees. It's acute. And this angle down here at the bottom, and you're thinking, what angle? Well, it is an angle if you think of it at angle B, but what happened was it opened all the way up to form a straight line. And so that's why we call it a straight angle. And this is 180 degrees. The right angle is 90 degrees. We can name triangles the same way. We have obtuse triangles, acute triangles, and right triangles. Now we don't have straight triangles because that's not possible to make a triangle with a straight angle in it. Now let's look at complementary and supplementary. Complementary angles total 90 degrees. So that's the key number that we're going to be working with there. And supplementary angles total 180 degrees. So if you know one of the angle measures, you can find the other by using just basics. So we would say 90 minus 17 would equal the complement. This would be 90 minus 38 would give us the complement, and 90 minus 79 would give us the complement. So 90 minus 17 would be, I believe that's 73 degrees. 90 minus 38 is 52 degrees. And 90 minus 79 is 11 degrees. So 73, 52, and 11, those would be the complements to the angles that we were originally given. Now if we switch gears and look at supplementary, so instead of totaling 90, they total 180. So we would have to do 180 minus 8, which would be 172. We'd have to do 180 minus 67, which would be 113. And we would have to do 180 minus 123, which would get us 57 degrees. So those would be supplementary angles to the original angles. Now on these, we're going to classify them, and we can classify them by their lengths of their sides and their angles. So we can classify them two different ways. When we look at the first one, do you see any angles that appear to be greater than 90 degrees? Hopefully you said no, so that means this is an acute triangle because all of the angles are acute angles. Now if you look at the sides, we have 3, 3, and 3. When we classify it by its sides, this is what we call an equilateral triangle. So it's acute because all of its angle measures are less than 90, and it's equilateral because all of its sides are the same. So now let's look at the next one. When you look at the angles, do you see any that appear to be greater than 90 degrees? Well, this angle is definitely little, and this one is too, but look at this one here. This is a bigger angle, definitely bigger than 90 degrees, so this is an obtuse triangle. And now if I look at the sides, I have 5, 3, and 3. So two of them are the same, one is different. This is an example of an isosceles triangle. Oops. So obtuse because it has an obtuse angle, and isosceles because two of the sides are the same. Now let's look at the last triangle. When you look at the angles, we definitely have one that is bigger than 90 degrees, so this is an obtuse triangle. And when I look at the sides, I have 11, 5, and 8. None of them are the same, so we call this scalene. So it is an obtuse, scalene triangle. Now, find the missing measure. So they're giving us two of the three, and we have to find the third. The thing you have to remember when you're finding the angles of a triangle is that they total the angles in a triangle total 180. So if you're trying to find the missing angle, you need to add up the two angles that you know. So 24 and 132 is 156, and then you have to subtract that from 180, which leaves us 24 degrees. So that's your missing angle. So on the next triangle, 35 plus 40 is 75, and then we have to do 180 minus 75, and that's going to be 105 degrees for your missing angle.